How many chapters are enough? It's really hard to answer. Myself, I like keeping it definitely no more than 30. I prefer like around 25, maybe 28. Have I gone over that? I think I have a couple of times. Under that, you really haven't had a chance to develop a story sufficiently. Over that, you might be dragging the story out too long, depending on the length of your chapters. Since I kind of write cozy, my chapters aren't very long, so 30 chapters I can usually get away with. Now, that being said, you've got some of the great classics like War and Peace. A few more than that. Herman Wouk's Winds of War. I think there were a few more than that. Sharon Penman's book, the one that sticks out in my mind, is When Christ and His Saints Slept. That had more than that. And the chapters themselves were long. And she was dealing with a very complicated and turbulent period in English history when the new dynasty established by William the Conqueror was still fresh. It was only a couple of kings since the Norman invasion and the line of succession, and you had civil wars and betrayals and crosses and double crosses and everything going on and on and on. It was fascinating, but at some point you felt like you were the person in the whole ordeal where, different forces would come through, and if they decided that a village or a city was loyal to the other side, even though it was their own countrymen, or even if they hadn't taken sides at all, one side or the other would come along and destroy it and destroy everything else. And it was a really hard and difficult period where everybody kind of felt that God was not paying attention to you. And before I was done the book, I felt the same way. But that being said, she captured everything. It was almost like she was writing from memory. Herman Wouk, that was the same thing, leading up to America and Europe just before the outbreak of the Second World War. You have to decide the story that you're writing. Can it be a cozy mystery like I'm writing? That's something that you can tell very easily in a very small book, a paperback. Is it something like Norman Succession, pre-World War II Europe, or Tolstoy's, War and Peace, Crimean War, and so on? Does it have a lot of complexity? If so, I would say give yourself a lot of chapters. Give yourself room for a lot of chapters. Or at least give yourself room for substantial chapters. Now, I'm just kind of telling a mystery story. Something that could easily be condensed into a 2-hour movie if a producer ever got a hold of it. Those other books that I was telling you, they had to be made into miniseries. There's no way you can just tell that in 2 hours. Like Tolkien's Lord of the Rings trilogy. You couldn't tell that story in one book. It was too complex. It was too rich. Peter Jackson ran into the same thing when he was making the movie. He had to break it into 3 parts because you have to give yourself room to tell the story. That's what's going to determine whether or not you have too many or not enough, if they're too long or too short. Take a look at your story. Take a look at the beginning, the middle, and the end. How do you bring them all together? Those are the high points. Those are the highlights. But you've still got to have the little intricacies, the little mini dramas that knit the whole thing together. Can you do it in 20 chapters? If so, do it in 20 chapters. If you need to do 30, 35, then do 30, 35. The point is being able to tell a story without losing your reader. So, how many? All depends.